All right, I think we're on. I just want to double check. I'll let Facebook do its thing. I'll let you know I'm here. Yay, I'm here.
I just want to
There
double
we go.
check.
Good. All right, let's get started. Okay, I want to welcome you to today's training, which is called The Knowing and Doing Gap. Why can't I just do it? And I thought this was actually timely because just having a lot of conversations with different women, this is exactly what they're describing is like, I know what to do. Why can't I just do it? Or why can't I just do it consistently? And I can sense them being so frustrated over that. So that's what we're talking about today. So let me know if you are an imperfect action taker by heading to the comments and letting me know if you're here live or if you're catching the replay. Either way, tells me you're an imperfect action taker and you're investing in yourself. So let me start with the story, and it goes like this. For years, my life felt like one big to-do list that really had no end in sight. I woke up each day with a feeling of kind of like dread. I hadn't even opened my eyes and already felt like behind in work, or I felt badly about myself already. It's kind of like I hit the ground running, checking emails from on my iPhone while I was still in bed. I crammed tasks into every waking minute, scrambling to kind of knock off as much as I could each day. And I would hear myself say, if I can just knock out my to-do list, I'll have the energy in the room to get my health back on track, to do this right, right? And I'm the kind of person that can really kind of zone in, right? I can zone in and be like, get shit done. But it doesn't work well when I want to be in balance. So if it's good if I got like a project or a timeline or I got this goal, I'm the kind of person that can just zone in. I can go all in. But when it comes to balance, that's where it kind of falls apart, or that's the con of it, right? Is because I then have a hard time managing stress or sleeping, keeping up with friendships, even just with my marriage and with kind of various roles and like being a business owner too. Like it's kind of like I can zone in and I can really focus on that, but then there's always a trade on the other end. Something else feels like it's less than or falling apart, or something else that makes me feel like I'm not good enough, even though I'm like kicking ass at this over here. And I always thought if I buckled down and worked harder, I would just get there. I didn't really know where there was, but that's where I was going. But you know what I always felt? I wasn't doing enough, right? You know what I always did? I always made the next to-do list or moved right into the next goal. I didn't even sit in the space of I did it long enough, just right on to the next. And I hear that from a lot of women too. It's kind of like, oh well, I don't know where there is, but that's where I'm going. I don't feel good enough, even though I'm kicking ass over here, but because of all of this over here, it's kind of falling apart. I don't feel good enough. And it's, oh well, I'll just make the next list, move on to the next goal, right? I don't even sit to acknowledge like, or I didn't sit to acknowledge like, I did it. I did that thing over there, right? And I told myself that things would be different when I reached the next milestone. But when I arrived, there was just like always a new milestone to kind of strive for, right? I was always kind of striving, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? And I hear this from women too. I actually just heard this the other day from a woman who's like finished a work project and then it's like, okay, well, what's the next one? Or she was actually renovating her house and she's like, I'm always thinking about like, what's the next thing I can renovate? What's the next thing I can do, right? So for me, it's like talk about not being present, right? Feeling overwhelmed. I was kind of like in this overdrive mode, making traction in some areas while other areas kind of felt like they were falling apart. Working hard at kind of micromanaging in some areas, but missing the boat on like the real needle movers, the things that really make a difference and have like the biggest impact. And I'm not just talking about health and fitness, I'm just talking about like just overall feeling really good in life, right? So let's face it, the to-do list never ends, and being busy all the time just means that we're likely focusing on some of the wrong things. So sometimes we get overwhelmed because we think we have to get it all done, but we already feel kind of behind, so we feel badly about ourselves before we even get out of bed. And that was certainly my story. And here's the kicker. I knew, so I thought, what to do with my food. I knew, so I thought, what to do with exercise. but I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it consistently. I was going hard because remember I can zone in. I was going really hard and then falling off and then getting back on track, right? And I knew this wasn't what I really wanted my life to kind of feel like, because it was taking up like a lot of mental energy. I was thinking a lot about that, but then all my energy had to go to whatever I was focusing on over here too, right? I just knew that that wasn't what I wanted for my life to feel like. I wanted life to feel kind of inspiring and fulfilling and nourishing. I wanted to feel grounded and strong and healthy. I wanted to feel alive. So in order for me to get there, I knew that I needed to have like kind of like do more deeper work. So when it came to my health, those fitness and nutrition goals, I was going through the motions, but I wasn't doing the deeper work. So no wonder it ever stuck, right? So I would be like, okay, you protein for breakfast. I'll just eat my protein for breakfast. Okay, I have drink some water or vegetables. I was just going through the motions, but like I was having the same dialogue in between my ears. I was having the same feeling of not being good enough or moving on to the next to-do list, never present, not feeling fulfilled, not feeling like alive in my body and in my life. And so it just never stuck. And that was why I was constantly starting and stopping, starting and stopping, starting and stopping, right? So here's the thing. I don't know who wrote this, but I just really loved it when I read it a long time ago, is we can't thrive and be depleted at the same time. Just think about that. We can't thrive and be depleted at the same time. So if your energy bank is depleted, you can't give from that empty cup, nor can you thrive. We can't radiate and feel dull at the same time. It's exactly like that, just captures exactly how I felt. Is like I wanted to radiate, but and maybe to other people I did, but on the inside I felt really dull, really disconnected with the way I wanted to feel and be. And we can't be peaceful and anxious at the same time. We can have peaceful moments and anxious moments, but they can't coexist at the very same time. And we can't feel alive and be avoidant at the same time, which is what I was doing. I was feeling alive because I was zoned in on this one thing, but I was definitely avoiding other things. And definitely that was what was ringing true for me. And Brene Brown, which you haven't followed her and you don't do her podcast, you might want to. And she has this really great book. It's called Daring Greatly. And she had this to say about perfectionism. And I think that maybe that's the underlying thing that was happening is I was failing at perfectionism, the very thing I thought was wrapped up in my identity and the very thing that I thought I needed to do in order to get to where I was going, their place. So here's what she said. Perfection is not the same thing as striving for excellence. Perfection is not about healthy achievement and growth. It's the belief that if we do things perfectly and looked perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of judgment, blame, and shame. And we lug perfectionism around thinking it will protect us, when in fact, it's the thing that really prevents us from being seen. And that just really hit home for me, and maybe it is for you. So here's what I needed to start assessing kind of my lifestyle. So here's what maybe will help me, but maybe will help you as well. Is one, I needed to look at, well, are my actual demands too high? Things like deadlines, expectations, or is it self-imposed that are perfectionist? So what I'm saying is we have things that we need to do in life. Well, I need to do the laundry, I need to eat, I need to clean my house, right? I need to get to work. And then within work, I have deadlines. I need to do certain things within my marriage. Like we have certain expectations. But a lot of them are self-imposed. A lot of them are self-imposed based on what that perfectionism basically. And I was just on a call with a client not too long ago, and I said on a scale of 1 to 10, when she was like kind of going through everything she had to do, and I said on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of those are self-imposed? She said 7 out of 10. So 7 out of 10 out of her expectations or demands, 7 out of 10 were self-imposed. And so really it's looking at, okay, what kind of pressure am I putting on myself, or where is perfectionism coming in? So are my actual demands too high, or is it that I'm self-imposing those demands on myself? Are my perceived demands too high? So this one is all about like urgent and needed now, or do I have to expand my timeline, maybe reframe, stop equating busy as important? So are my perceived demands too high. And this one was a big one for me because it felt like everything was needed, everything was urgent. I didn't know how to be like, well, that would be number one, number two. Even my to-do list, when I have a little checklist or whatever, it would be like so long, right? And then when you learn about if you have more than three priorities, you have none. And so you look at, okay, well, out of this long list, which ones are the highest priorities? I had such a hard time doing that, right? So are your perceived demands too high? Are you feeling like everything is urgent, or do you just need to look at expanding your timelines, reframing, and stop equating busy as important? And are my ideals too high? Hello, that was me, right? Do I have unrealistic standards and expectations of myself, or are others expecting too much of me? And this is where I got really good at boundaries there, because when I realized this one is I was putting unrealistic standards and expectations, I could go back and tell you my childhood story. That's where that comes from as well, from there for me. But I always blamed it on others were expecting a lot of me to be this kind of friend, to be this kind of coach, to be this kind of employee or what have you. I thought it was that, but it was me. It was me that was doing it, right? So I essentially kind of needed to step back. I needed to understand the trades I was making as if kind of they were worth it, right? So we always like to throw around this word balance. And if you've been following me for a long time, I truly don't believe there is such thing as balance. I believe everything's a trade. And so it's understanding, if I do this, is it worth this on the back end? And if the answer is yes, then we pursue it. If the answer is no, then it creates an opportunity for us to reevaluate. Now, I needed to kind of kind of step back to reassess. And it wasn't just for now. I needed to look at, okay, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Now, when I was 20, being 43 is 42 or whatever, I couldn't even visualize what a 42-year-old would look like. When I look back at my old school journals, it was like, wow, I really thought my life would look completely different. And those aren't even close to what I want now that I'm here, right? So it constantly evolves, but looking at the long view can help you see like what you're doing now and how it's going to impact you down the road. And it's looking at all areas, right? Because sometimes we're like, I just want to lose weight. I just want to take what I know and do it. And I just want to lose weight, right? I just want to feel good in my body. But then it's looking at, okay, if everything's a trade and we need to step back, we need to look at also, well, how does that goal fit into the goals that I have for spirituality, for my relationship, for personal development, for my finances, for fun, for example? And then that's how we kind of zone out and look at, okay, well, then how does that fit into my 5, 10, 15-year plan? So the feeling of overwhelm, having so much to do that it feels like a high priority or high importance, needing to get it all done, feeling behind, yet hopeful that it could be different. We could be different. We could lose the weight. We could feel energized, get healthy, tone, and feel good. We start awfulizing what we yet don't have, should have, or could have. Here's the word awfulizing. So here's what it looks like. Nothing could be worse. If I'm eating 100% bad, 100% of the time, I'm doing 100% of nothing to move me towards my goals. Even though you just had one bad meal, or even though you just had 2 days of a missed workout, it's like 100% bad. What I'm doing is 100% or 100% worse. I'm bad. So now it's not just about what I'm doing, it's about how I see or perceive myself. And I'll never get there. It's not about, I just maybe need to expand my timelines or adjust the goal. It's I'll never get there. And whatever just happened is bound to happen again and worse. It's inevitable. That's awfulizing. We get caught up in a repeated pattern or cycle. We do this with exercise. We do this with food. We do this with how we feel about our bodies or our actions. We do this with the way we kind of feel. We do this with the way we think. We do this with our actions. We awfulize. And here's the thing about awfulizing. It triggers a lot of fear and keeps you trapped in the story you don't want to be in. So 95% of the day we are driven to do or not do things based on conditioning that flies under the radar. So it could be thoughts like, I don't believe in myself, or I'm not good enough, so why bother? This isn't really going to work. I tried this so many times. I'm scared to fail again. The last time I was on a diet, I could never do X. I never got to eat anything I liked. I felt hungry all the time, really restricted. I wasn't always, I was always hungry, and that made me, think about food all the time, or binge eat. I was so crazy about the foods I ate. My family kind of hated me because I was miserable, which has happened here as well. So those are kind of thoughts that we have, just like this auto loop of thoughts that happen. And some of them we're aware of, and some of them we're not even aware of because we're just thinking about them all the time in the same way, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. These are all like unconscious thoughts that get stored in your brain, and they become part of your belief system, and they also become part of your fears, and they kind of get tucked away in your unconscious brain. So this is the gap that a lot of women talk about, wanting to change our behaviors but not being able to apply what we know daily, or at least on a consistent basis. Knowing is the first step, but we already know that does little to change what we do unless we can kind of put it into practice. And a lot of women will get into this stage of, like, because there's fear, there's so much of that unconscious thinking that's happening, they'll get into a phase of researching or gathering data, or like following different accounts to, like, bombard themselves, and they feel like they're doing something. It feels like busy work, but it's not moving you anywhere. And so then you end up collecting a lot of information, but you're not in, because you're just as much or even more confused to be able to implement it too. So knowing does very little to kind of change, right? It does build your awareness, but we now got to move into action. So that's the gap, right? Is the gap is, for most women, they're not considering their unconscious stories or their beliefs, those thoughts that are flying under the radar. We're not looking at that and how that's blocking. We just think we need more information. I just haven't found the right thing, right? So the actions we take are almost always based on patterns and habits that we've built, maybe tracing even back to childhood. Do you ever wonder why it's hard to leave food on your plate? Just think about it. If you grew up in a house where it was like food was scarce, or you were always told never leave food on your plate, that's why then we struggle with it now, right? Do you crave certain things when you're stressed? Well, when things were like emotional, for example, like I know with my mom, it was like I was always bribed with food, especially when I was sick or when I was having a bad day. I was always bribed with food, right? Why you instantly get hungry when you're prepping dinner, for example. It's all patterns, habits, and associations. So it includes our patterns with your busyness, your to-do list. So it includes patterns around, when I do X, I'll get Y. When I feel X, I'll do Y. It's awfulizing. It's that fear voice. It all creates this gap between, I know what I want and need, but I just can't or don't know how to do it. That's kind of the knowing and doing gap. So let's say Monday you have something sweet to finish your dinner, right? Because I'm picking on that one because that one just came up not too long ago. So, and then Tuesday you decide, like, okay, I'm only going to do that once. Like right now I just have this sweet craving. I just want to finish off dinner with something sweet, right? But then Tuesday you do the same, and then Wednesday you do the same. Then you kick into awareness and think, oh, I need to stop this habit. I said I was going to do it once, and now here I am 3 days into it, right? Thursday comes around and it's day one of kicking the habit. Guess what you still think about after dinner? You'll still think about that something sweet to finish off dinner. It's at that point that we have a knowing and doing gap. You might call this no willpower, or others might say you're addicted to sugar, for example. That's the knowing and doing gap, is like day one, you decided, but you're still thinking about it, right? It's here that we find ourselves kind of in a pattern that doesn't always serve our goals. We give in because our body is driving us, and it's changing directions is uncomfortable. I don't want to sugarcoat that, it's not, right? And our rational brain wants the change, but our irrational brain said, maybe now just isn't a good time, right? I'll start again on Monday. It's then in the mindset is what blocks you from changing that pattern. Beliefs, if I kind of just work harder, I'll get there. If I just put my head down here, then I can make it happen and I can get there. It's when that awfulizing voice comes back in, nothing is right, I'll never get there, I always mess it up. It's from there that your fear voice gets louder. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being not worthy, fear of not believing in yourself, a fear that you can't get through kind of that discomfort. So here's how you can start moving from kind of closing the gap between knowing and doing it consistently. And it was a question that was asked in one of my coaching groups that I'm going to apply here. And it's going to get you to move away from asking, why can't I? Because sometimes we get so stuck on asking why questions. And although there's value there, it's not always the thing that's going to propel you forward. Is like, okay, I got this knowing and doing gap. How do I want to move forward is more growth oriented. So this next step is going to help you get unstuck out of that why can't I action. Hope you have your pen and paper ready because it's a doozy. Okay. So here's the question. Well, there's a couple parts to it. What would it take for you to feel comfortable betting $1,000 that your current or next diet will stick? What would it take for you to feel comfortable betting $1,000 that your current or next diet will stick? And I'm not saying stick for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. I'm saying stick for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. All right, that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, how about 5,000 or 10,000? And there's reasons why it's being asked in increments, because when you get to 10,000, you're really going to dial in on what is most important to move you forward, to close that gap. So again, the question would be, what would it take for you to feel comfortable betting $1,000 that your current or next diet will stick? And again, stick isn't 30, 60, 90 days, or it's a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, right? Because nobody wants to lose the weight and gain it back. Then you ask the same question, what would it take for you to feel comfortable betting 5,000 that your current or next diet will stick? And the following question is, what would it take for you to feel comfortable betting 10,000 that your current or next diet will stick? We want to get you to the $10,000 level. When you explore these questions, you might just get further ahead than asking, I know what to do, but I can't stick to it. Why can't I? Because it gets you to reveal your fear and your deep reasons why there is a disconnect. So let me just help you break it down, like how to apply it, right? To your situation or problem. So the first thing we gotta ask is okay, well, what are you struggling with? So, is it eating late at night? Is it snacking? Is it overeating on the weekends? Is it not drinking your water or slowing down your eating or not eating enough protein? Is it thinking about food all the time? Is it leaving food on your plate? Is it overindulging? Is it emotional eating, like boredom eating, stress eating, reward eating, comfort eating, lonely eating? Is it cravings? Is it feeling hungry? What exactly is the thing that you're struggling with? And you might have more than one, but remember we talked about, nailing it down to you might want to nail it down to 1, 2, max 3 of the things that are tripping you up. Okay, so then you got to write that down. First of all, we're going to write that down. And we want to be really specific, like I just did, right? It's not like eat healthy. We need to really be specific as to what that would look like, right? And if you're saying weight, we need to be really specific, because weight isn't necessarily a goal in the sense of it's what you do to lose the weight. That's what we want to focus on. And you can focus on what's tripping you up to lose the weight. That's what we want to focus on. So be really specific. So then we want to ask yourself look at what's tripping you up and look at what you're currently doing. And then we want to ask yourself the $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 question to kind of uncover your fear. Then we can ask, if that is my goal, right, is to kind of overcome that struggle so that I can get to my ultimate goal. How do I make it simple enough that I would bet the $1,000 or the $5,000, even $10,000 on myself? I don't know. I felt like that was a mic drop there. So this is where you kind of start, It's really about asking, what should I do today? Talk about present focus. And how do I do that? It provides clarification and instruction to yourself. And you bank on that, right? You work on that consistently. With that, we simplify the overwhelm and the thoughts that come with that. But remember, you have to be comfortable betting $1,000, $5,000 and getting to that $10,000 level on your ability to do it consistently, not perfectly, consistently. One of the most fundamental practices when I coach women is the 5 minute action. There's nothing special about 5 minutes. It could be 10 seconds, it could be 1 minute, or it could be 10. The point is, it's something that is very, very small. It's an action, something you do, and it's something that feels easy and simple, and it moves you in the direction you want to go. In the book Tiny Habits by Dr. Fogg, he says like the 5 minute actions should be really simple, they should be small, and they should be doable. They get you to stop thinking about like that all or nothing thinking, and instead asking what health behaviors went to the wayside and how can I do better than 0% next time. Because changing behavior is not an all or nothing, all in or all out game, which is what I thought, and what I hear a lot of women saying, because they use language like I'm on the bandwagon, off the bandwagon. The game you need to play is where we focus on daily, where we want to be daily, what we want to be doing daily that makes us feel like we're moving forward. So it works like this. If I've got a bunch of seeds on a counter right now for herbs and vegetables, the seeds are, in a way, all I need to make those herbs and vegetables appear in my garden, right? But I shouldn't be surprised if the pile of seed packages don't produce a garden full of plants if I never bother to put them in the soil and water them from time to time. And that's what we need to look at, is some of us are buying or collecting herbs and vegetables, but we're never planting them, or we're inconsistent with planting them, or we're not pairing them together, for example, right? There's something about the planting that we're not doing. And these questions will help you start planting them. But that's not it, guys, is like a lot of us plant them and then we're like, go forth, universe, and grow my plants and give me some herbs and some vegetables. We're forgetting to water them daily. And that comes up because we're like, how many women will get on a scale and the scale isn't giving them the answer that they want to, and then they stop doing it. They stop watering the plants and the vegetables. So it's watering the plants on top of that. So today's kind of the day you plant the seed, right? Close the gap between knowing and doing by betting on yourself. Stop asking why, bet on yourself, and start with those questions and work through them. Because it isn't willpower or motivation that throws us off. Information isn't transformation, but it can feel like it, like we're doing something, right? And what gets missed on various diets is looking at our way of thinking, the thinking that throws us off track, the pattern we repeat that we keep putting kind of band-aid solutions on, like meal plans and supplements and patches and potions and wraps and chews. Those are the band-aid solutions. No wonder we then go back to like, why can't I stick to it? Why can't I just do it? It's that creates the kind of the implementation gap that prevents us from being consistent in our practice. So how are you betting on yourself today to kind of close that gap? I would absolutely, would blow my mind if you were open to sharing it either with me in the DMs or you were open to sharing it in the group as well. Basically that $10,000 level. And looking at that, I'm a firm believer that that's going to move you forward than asking, why can't I, into how can I? So that's what I have for you today. If this video was helpful, then you can kind of give it a like, right? And if you have questions or comments, kind of leave them below, right? And if you're interested in kind of going further, there are 3 ways I can support you as a coach. Is first through a 12-week personalized coaching journey for women who are kind of done with dieting and ready to rewire their relationship with food and their body to not only lose the weight, but feel energized, maintain a flexible, healthy lifestyle. And it begins with mindset there. And then we got Consistency Club. So it's kind of like a group fitness challenges. So there's 6 throughout the year, but we focus on how to rev things up, how to slow things down so that we stay consistent, never bored, but there's always elements of mindset, nutrition, exercise in that too. And then in person through our small group training in our facility in Strathroy, Ontario. So if you're wanting more coaching, just send me a DM. And if this video kind kind of delivered value, give it a like, but also consider inviting another woman into this community or tagging them on the bottom of this video, so that we can then start changing the conversation about these things, about weight and stuff, and having more authentic, vulnerable, life-changing conversations with one another because we're all on the same page. All right, I'm Coach Cindy signing off.